You gave them every chance to win. If you look at this in slow motion, you can see Caitlin Clark clearly smiling in confusion, smiling in, did that really just happen? Smiling in, you sly W. And she says, she points at the other team, you gave them every chance to win. Oh, goodness gracious. Caitlin Clark, she's chomping at the bits to start talking.
The WNBA has landed itself in yet another storm, and this time, Caitlin Clark and Sydney Colson aren't holding back. They've had enough of the bias refereeing, the double rules, and the league's strange obsession with shutting down its stars instead of standing up for them. What should have been a night to celebrate a hard-fought Indiana fever win turned into a clear example of how the WNBA's trust is falling apart right in front of everyone.
With Sydney Colson. So this is the timeline here. Let me get this pulled up here. This is interesting. I didn't know she said all that today. Okay, this is interesting here. She started off last night by saying at a certain point in the league's existence, I'm gonna need for Kelsey Mitchell to get the same whistle as each other stars. The way she gets assaulted is insane, actually, and I've considered roping my sister in it to have.
It all started after Indiana pulled off a dramatic 76-75 win over the Los Angeles Sparks. Normally, a game like that would bring excitement across the Fever locker room. But instead, the talk wasn't about the win. It was about yet another round of strange, one-sided refereeing that left players, fans, and analysts shaking their heads in shock. Do you think the WNBA will fix this mess? Tell us in the comments below. Let's go.
Who you betting on? And mind you, there was some problems going on with the shot clock throughout the game. But man, there is no way. Right at the end of the game, you should be on top of it. You telling me you're not paying attention to when some hands touch that ball? Come on, man. And then to reward them with the timeout, like, fam, that's crazy work. Look, Caitlin Clark, like, what is going on here? She's like, no. Look,
Let's rewind to the second quarter. Kelsey Mitchell, Indiana's other scoring machine alongside Caitlin Clark, drove hard to the basket. She beat her defender clean, and right in front of the whole arena, she was grabbed and pulled mid-drive. Not nudged, not lightly bumped, pulled. The foul was so obvious that even the fans in the very last row could see it. Everyone expected the whistle, but the referees stayed silent. They swallowed it like the foul never even happened. Mitchell, tough as nails, finished the layup anyway, but the damage was done. The Fever bench exploded.
Betting slips for this guy right here. I think his name is like Agun Agazi, because it sure seemed like he did not want to let the Fever take away this win, making the last 1.9 seconds last almost 5 minutes. He was just like letting them call a reset timeout, and then he was like, no, it's a foul. But I think the worst part about that 1.9 seconds was when 0.4 seconds was left on the clock, and Kelsey Mitchell was at the free throw line. She was trying to miss on purpose because that takes time off of the clock, because if she would have made it in, they would have been able to inbound and possibly do a tip in. But this guy allowed a reset timeout. When do you allow?
That's when Caitlin Clark, sitting injured on the sideline, but locked into the game as always, lost it. She jumped up, shouting at the referees, waving her arms, yelling, "Call it! Call it!" Her energy fired everyone up. Then Lexi Hall stood up too, furious about the missed call. And what did the referees do? They hit Hall with a technical foul. Let me say that again. The player who got fouled got nothing. The player who committed the foul kept playing. And the teammate who dared to be angry about the unfairness was the one punished. If that's not rigging, then what is?
Saw in that game. Like, it didn't really matter what was going on. We all knew what was happening. We all knew what was happening there. And the game was being given. The game was absolutely being given to the Sparks. They were giving the Sparks every single chance possible to go and win that game. Even though realistically, did they deserve to win that game? Hell no. Hell no. They did not. And I mean,
And the Fever weren't the only ones who were furious. Watching from her living room, sidelined with torn ACL, Sydney Colson had seen enough. She grabbed her phone and dropped one of the most viral tweets of the season. At a certain point in this league, I'll need Kelsey Mitchell to get the same calls as other stars. The way she gets hit is insane, honestly. And I've even thought about getting my sister's office to press charges.
Was horrific. And Kelsey drove to the basket a lot. She is the type of person that just like goes through a lot of defenders, and she wasn't getting a call. This really was not her game. She was not hitting it from the three whatsoever, but everyone is entitled to having a bad game here and there, and I think she was kind of due for one because of the tear that she's been on lately. Even Sid Colson took to Twitter to talk about it, saying, at a certain point in the league's existence, I'm gonna need Kelsey Mitchell to get the same whistle as other stars. The way she gets—
That wasn't a joke. That was Colson saying out loud what Fever fans have been shouting for months. This isn't just bad refereeing. This is targeted treatment. Indiana players are getting shoved around on the court and then punished for even daring to complain. Colson's words were full of anger, sarcasm, and raw honesty, and they hit instantly. The tweet blew up online, pulling in thousands of shares with fans everywhere saying the same thing. Finally, someone said it. Of course. Caitlin Clark couldn't resist jumping in. Her reply was perfect. Short, sharp, and dripping with sarcasm. Careful, you're going to get fined. 6 words that said it all. Because Clark knows better than anyone that this league doesn't allow criticism of its referees. You can get hammered on the court, ignored by officials, sabotaged by phantom whistles. But the moment you call it out, the WNBA comes after you. And Clark wasn't exaggerating. She was pointing to a very real, very ugly history.
Then Sydney Colson said, I can't get no more fine. So Lynn Dunn stated, agree, I will help pay the fine. So that's what Lynn Dunn stated yesterday about the fines. And Caitlin Clark said, love it. Everyone listen to Lynn. So it's definitely a lot of...
Just ask Sophie Cunningham. She's a WNBA's poster child for what happens when you tell the truth about refereeing. Cunningham has been fined not once, not twice, but 3 different times for daring to question the refs. Her first crime? Lip-syncing to a TikTok song that mocked referees as stupid and useless. Boom, $500 gone. Then she called out inconsistency on her own podcast. Another $1,500 fine. And finally, she spoke the obvious truth. Paige Buchers was being babied by officials who blew the whistle every time she was touched, while Fever guards like Mitchell were getting hacked with no protection. That honesty cost her yet again.